this is a absolutely game changing, and I so wish that I had known this information back when I was getting started, and this could be a whole book on itself, honestly. Now, I do have a book. It's called Rapid Regeneration, and if you want to check it out, and it's a chapter in the book, but it's the longest chapter. Oh, well, maybe the second longest chapter. It's a very epic chapter, because the subject in itself is so big, it could be its own program, its own book. So this knowledge is so game-changing, and when I started to figure this out to some degree, and it really helped me, but basically when I started to really understand and wrap my mind around it, it was game-changing, and I've really done my homework on this one for you, and not only with years and years of my own experience, but mentorship from the top experts, deep research, and yes, to put this together. So it is a skeleton key to, in other words, if you can't get this right, food combining, then all the other information that is so helpful, that is so revolutionary and so game-changing isn't going to work. So that's how important this is. I'm not overselling this. That is how important that this, and essential and critical, that the food combining information is. Because you could have two scenarios. On the one hand, basically somebody could really clean up their diet, they're eating super healthy, maybe even they're eating raw foods, maybe they're completely raw and they're just eating all raw foods because they're really desperate to, or inspired to solve their problems or go to the next level. Okay, this person could still unknowingly be creating very acidic conditions from bad food combining. And this can absolutely create a block. It can block the body from being able to alkalize itself and be able to heal itself. So, and by the way, I see it all the time. I see it all the time with the way people are eating. And I think that maybe they just don't know how this works. And basically the science behind this and the philosophy and the approach behind this. Okay, on the other hand, you could have another individual. Now, let's say they're eating a more modern diet of kind of your cooked foods, and okay, if their food is combined properly, even if that food is acid forming to begin with, some people can still maintain relatively good well-being for a period of time. So look at like the Paleo style of eating. This is a whole movement, and it pays tribute to good food combining in a way, because somebody might eat like roasted meat, and then they might eat some maybe a salad or some cooked vegetables, but they're not going to eat dairy, they're not going to eat any bread or grains. So even though the meat is going to be decently acid forming, the cooked vegetables are going to be mildly acid forming, this is still good food combining. And they would have, after eating this meal, they would have avoided much worse acidic chemistry if they had combined foods improperly. They would have had even much more acids exponentially. Okay, if this same paleo person, again, at another separate meal, if they eat a baked potato or a sweet potato, and then maybe they have a salad again, or maybe cooked vegetables, but no meat or no protein, again, this is good food combining. Even though the starchy, gluey, cooked potato, it has a high glycemic index, it has complex sugars, it's still acid forming. But again, they would have avoided much exponentially worse acidic consequences if they had combined their food improperly. Now, if they ate the meat and the potato at the same meal, this is a classic example, and I'll tell you exactly why, but of bad food combining. Now this is going to create so much more nutrient deprivation and acidic consequences in the body. So those are the two examples. You have a paleo eater who's combining food properly and is still maintaining a pretty good, a decent, energy and feels good and figures out something that works for them. Then you have someone who's like, oh, I'm into raw foods and alkaline foods, but they're combining foods improperly and they're still experiencing stagnation, acids, and bad results, and being blocked from where they're trying to go. So, these are the two scenarios. This is the power of food combining, proper food combining. So, and there's so many examples. I'm not saying that cooked meat or cooked potatoes are healthy. That's not the point. But, the acidic nature of these foods is multiplied exponentially when they're combined together. And I'll tell you exactly why. But first you have to understand there's so many examples of this. How about a turkey sandwich, a hamburger, fish and chips, chicken and rice, spaghetti and meatballs, meat and potatoes? I mean, there's so many examples of modern foods. Yes. So either you can use this segment for one of two things. You can either figure out how to eat cooked, unhealthy foods in a strategic way. That's going to be a lot less harmful, and it'll create less acidity. Or you can, if you're embracing more healthy foods, like especially your fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, how to avoid a situation where you're eating healthy food choices, but unbeknownst to you, you're still harming the body. You're depriving it of nutrients and you're creating acidic, harmful conditions due to the bad food combining.